Hello beautiful people, my name is Danny and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be walking you through a few steps to help make your songwriting feel a little bit more emotional, vulnerable, and raw, to really get your listeners in their feelings. Songwriting is a really personal process, so I'm not here to tell you to uproot your entire workflow and only do it my way, but I hope these tips can help you make your songs a little bit more personal, a little bit more emotional, and if you're interested in that, then this is the video for you. So first you have to choose your concept or a word that really inspires you. If you're not feeling inspired, you can look up the window and just kind of see what's going on. You can drink a cup of coffee, close your eyes, look at some old photographs, or maybe even open your favorite book to a page and choose something that inspires you from there. It's definitely a good way to kind of get the creative juices flowing. So once you've got that picked out, then you can go to the Voice Memos app on your phone or write down the concept and just kind of get it out of your system and listen back to it. Next, you'll want to set the scene. Now, this is important because now that you have your idea, where is this happening? Is it in a bedroom? Is it in a dusty bar? Is it maybe in the supermarket? Who knows? So a good way to do this is to maybe imagine you're in a music video. Where is this song starting off? Is it on a beach? Is the camera panning up on a beach? Are you in a coffee shop waiting for your date to arrive and he never shows? These are some good tips to kind of get the mind flowing. Try and figure out what descriptive words you can use to describe the scene, things like that. Next is arguably the hardest part, and that is writing down or recording your stream of consciousness. You can record using the Voice Memo app on your phone, which I love using, or you can just write down your stream of consciousness. Do about a minute or so of talking or writing, and then start over from the beginning. Do 4 or 5 takes, and then highlight or circle the ones that you find are most interesting, or the ones that really invoke the emotion that you're trying to get across. If you haven't already, then start picking out your chords. You can start with one chord that kind of sums up the emotion of the piece. If it's sad, let's say you go minor, or happy, major, and then from there pick some chords that sound good. Or if you're feeling totally stumped, you can try using some of these chord progressions. So the first one is happy. So if you're writing a hopeful, happy, light song that's still got that emotion behind it, this is a good chord progression for you. Another alternative is to use this sad one, which is pretty self-explanatory. If your song's sad and it's got a lot of sad moments happening, this is a chord progression for you. Next, we've got melancholy, which is extra sad. So it kind of feels like someone's ripping out your heart and you're just crying for days. That's kind of the song. If that's what your character's feeling, this is the chord progression for you. Then we've got mysterious. Now mysterious is interesting. It can be used for really sultry, kind of risque songs, or even songs that just carry a lot of tension no matter what it is. So this is definitely a very interesting one, and I really like using it in my songs. Keep in mind also that you don't have to use one chord progression throughout your entire song. It's actually really fun to mix up the chord progressions based on the structure of your song. So you can have a chord progression for your verses, one for your chorus, and one for your bridge. Let's say if your bridge is a turning point in the song lyrically, you could put in a hopeful chord progression there, or a happy one, and then keep the rest of your song sad up until that point, and it'll really cause this interesting shift in the mood and really engage your listener. Once you've got that figured out, then loop your chords. I like starting out doing this section by section, so I loop the verse chords, then the chorus chords, and so on. You could do this using a DAW, or you could just strum the chords on the guitar and keep looping them or play them on the piano, depending on what instrument you use to accompany yourself. When you do that, then use the words that you highlighted or circled that were your favorite from your stream of consciousness and try and fit those in over the chords, creating some interesting melodies and just doing what sounds cool. A good tip is also to record this so that you can go back and reference if you do something really cool but can't remember what you did. Now, we're gonna fill in the middle part of the song and create a really effective hook. Now, there's a few tips and tricks that you can use for this that are really gonna hook in your listener and be really recognizable hooks, so I'm gonna go over a few of those right now. So the first thing to keep in mind is which scale are you using? Major scales are usually associated with happier melodies, and minor modes or more dissonant kind of scales are great if you're going for a sadder, more melancholy vibe to your song. These scales are also very recognizable to non-musicians because they can just tell through the tension in the tones whether it's a happy or sad song, so definitely keep that in mind. The intervals or space between your notes can also play a big role in how your hook is going to be effective. So smaller little intervals are definitely more singable, and they're kind of more status quo. So people are kind of expecting it. It's definitely showing that things are going the same way, but larger intervals invoke drama. So this is very, very effective in your hook, because if there's a certain word that you want to attract attention to, it'll be highlighted through what you're doing vocally. A great example is using text painting. So if you're talking about diving in or falling in love, you can use your melody to illustrate that happening. So if you're falling in love, you can lower the melody there, showing that you're falling both melodically and through the text, and that way, using this text painting, you can illustrate the text through the melody. Another thing to keep in mind is to use the pentatonic scale. This is great because non-vocalists find it easier to deal with fewer notes, and the spaces between the notes definitely make this more singable, and if non-vocalists can sing along to it, then you've definitely got a catchy hook. Repetition. This is very, very effective, and a lot of recognizable hooks use repetition in their songs. If you're afraid that using repetition might come across as boring, you can try pushing and pulling the tempos, as well as changing the notes on certain on and off repetitions. For example, if you're doing one theme the first time, the second time change it up, third time go back to the first one, and the fourth time you can change it up again. That way you still have the repetition, but you're also changing it up and keeping it sonically interesting. And finally, for a really effective hook, keep in mind that you don't have to use words. Songwriters have this tendency that they like saying everything with words. They really want to explain everything that's going on, but melodies can be just as effective in illustrating an emotion as words can be. So using vowels or just staying on O's can really be effective, and it can make it super memorable because the listener doesn't have to memorize a bunch of words. Once you have your melody or a hook, allow for the stream of consciousness to go on, this time incorporating the hook. Do that a couple times again and play it back for yourself, or write it down and read it again, and just see how you're feeling about all of this. The final step after you've allowed your stream of consciousness to go on after your hook is to edit. Editing is probably the most important step because you can go on and pick and choose the parts that you like the most out of your recordings or notes and put them back into a song that's both palatable and also authentic to the emotion that you're trying to express. Once you do that, you've got your song, you're done. You've got an emotional, vulnerable song with a great hook that's ready to be shared with the world. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you could like it, comment, and subscribe. And I'm really excited to hear if these tips were helpful. So if you wrote a song using these tips, be sure to share it with me. And I really hope to see you guys soon. Bye!